perhaps more than most. And there are his forearms you're seeing rattling away here. Did a good job to bridge that breakaway, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. A couple of them made a big effort. Just getting some information that 3 of the 4 Germans have abandoned. 3 with stomach issues.
No.
Apparently, Lena Lippert also had stomach issues. Yesterday in the race. So yeah, look, as I was saying, there is a lot of riders have to get everything right on the day, and you do rely on good health. You rely on everything, and sometimes you'll come away and to these races without a chef. You get that in a lot of the pro teams. I know that we took David Hicks, a famous chef in South Africa, to the Tour de France, and his biggest problem was he would be in there for hours cleaning the kitchen before he actually used it, because he thought it was substandard in some of the hotels we were in. So if that's the case, they come in here and they're getting a lot of a kind of stomach problem, whether it's the food, the water, or anything like that.
These small, as well,
these small things, these counts, and obviously in the way over, you're sharing an airplane with normal paying members, public members that might be a little bit sick. So you never know.
One of the Eritreans, I'm not sure if it's Binny himself, actually. Let's have a look. Just giving out because he just mashed his mech on the rattling surface here and has found himself back and out of the pack, which means he's going to have to put his nose in the wind. He knows what's coming because up and over the top, it's Zerai that's waiting for an exchange here. Might have to wait a little while longer. Naam Zerai. Meanwhile, it still continues to be driven on. Pace has actually picked up. Fastest lap so far was the first lap. I've got a feeling that this lap, which is our bid farewell, will actually be also very, very quick. We'll get a graphic on that for you shortly. 7 riders in the breakaway. The advantage they have is down to underneath 2 minutes now, 1:51. It was 2.5, getting on, not exactly for the 3 minutes, but we were kind of up there, weren't we, at that heady altitude. Here we are at the Flamme Rouge. Our friend with his vocal cords, which have been overstretched, is taking a break. We'll be hearing more from him a little bit later, I'm sure. But we're about to depart and head away for the cobbles for a cobble holiday, Brian, of over 40 Ks.
Yeah, I don't think there's any cobbles in this. There is on this Mount Kigali, if I remember the pictures right. But it's a shame for Araya. He's the national champion of Eritrea, of course, and to have a mechanical at this moment, and of course, not ideal. I hope he gets service very, very quickly and manages to get back. It's going to be obviously very difficult. Anybody having problems getting back?
Yeah, and you can see a few just starting to churn. We're going to get used to that. This is Rojas from Costa Rica. Looks like, has he got a rear puncture? Can't quite see. You're certainly looking at the chain rattle, which is very much a character of what we are having to deal with. Venezuela. Well, some of the South American teams have a great deal of representation, and it is always a pleasure to see them in action. But Penuela at the back, just having a word with the car. Richard Carapaz from Ecuador. Of course, the Colombians, strong representation here. Brandon Rivera with Egan Bernal, Harold Tejeda, Walter Vargas. That's a strong unit, to be fair. How far Egan Bernal can go at these Worlds, I expect he'll be at the pointy end. He probably would have preferred it be a little bit more full-on mountainous. But you never know. It's been a long road back, I'm afraid, for Egan Bernal, and we wish him all the very best. And his retrieval. Meanwhile, as they come across the line here, the clock begins to count. It's red, but there's a bit of pace, Brian, because everyone just wants to have their nose into the new road.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what Egan Bernal decides to do. Whether he waits, that's what I was talking about before. Can you afford to wait? Do you want to go toe-to-toe with Pogacar and Evenepoel? Do you want to put yourself in front, take a leaf out the women's race yesterday? So I think Egan Bernal definitely might be of interest on this climb. We know he's a good climber. probably know he's not at his best, and it might be an opportunity to use the Mount Kigali to his advantage.
Eddie Dunbar's being brought up here, and good mountains man. See, it's not the biggest test, 5.9 kilometers, but it's the ramps within it. It's going to feel like a classic test, I think. But we'll wait until we get there, because this will be our short lap start-finish line that we will take for the last time for a little while, to be fair. So we're heading out into the countryside, and I'm rather pleased about that. Gap's been whittled down, Brian. It was far more significant than this, and I think it's just a measure of, I think, the respect that they're giving the breakaway, but also the potential for others to spring off. They want to keep a pace going so that they can moderate anybody who might go up the road. Somebody like Ben Healy.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one for Ben Healy. We know he wants to go from distance. That's what he does. We've seen him doing that magnificently in the Tour de France to take yellow and take a great stage. And we saw him in the Olympics in Paris doing something a little bit similar. He is the type of person, but in the form that he's got at the moment, I think he can afford to kind of wait a little bit and maybe wait for the final kind of couple of laps. It'd be interesting to see what their tactic is, Ireland's and Ben Healy's tactic. Be interesting to see once we come off and head towards Mount Kigali, who decides to go. I think we will see some action. I'm not too sure it'll be the action that goes all the way to the end, of course.
130 kilometers before we get there. If the camera could just pan a little bit right, we would see a whole raft of grey clouds, and it's starting to kick off. Well, this is nice. Switzerland coming into today. We've seen Fabio Christen doing an awful lot of work up front, but they also have Jan Christen, Mark Hershey. Never quite know what to think of Mark Hershey these days. Seems extremely variable, but then again as well, he's also highly capable when the mood suits him, and he can actually go very, very loud. Switzerland making sure that we are talking about them. These look like herons taking flight. Sharp beaks generally tend to spear fish, sort of spearfishers. Yeah, why not? Who's going to land the big one today? It's still too early to predict, quite frankly, Brian, because there's so many riders. I wouldn't be surprised if they did win. But do you think we'll get some that are really off our radar that might actually just take a step forward?
I think we've been speculating. We've been talking about Carapaz, Bernal, others. Who would be the riders that would do that? I think
Healy, Quinn Simmons.
I think Quinn Simmons is going to wait. He's been looked after at the front of the peloton. This is how the Swiss roads. Okay, they got fourth in the end, but I thought they were one of the team of the race yesterday, to the front of the race, to put pressure on the others.
Check out what's happening behind this move here by Mauro Schmidt. There's a lot of teams suddenly mobbing the front, and Belgium have got some company. Norway, starting to have a think about it. Denmark are looking numerous, I must say, and they've got a fighting force. Matthias Chelmors, we talked about his Ardennes Classic head and the way that and what key it's going to be set to, I do not know. And who's got the key to the door a little bit later on? Remco Evenepoel is, every time we look at him, looks very, very nervous. Look at Slovenia. They've burnt down 3 of their number, but they still have 6. Meanwhile, Estonia and Ryan Taramay, he was here on his own, and he's pulled the pin. Thanks to him. It's been a great rider for so many years. And this vast lake, look at that, it's a beautiful picture. Credit to the director of photography for that one. Absolutely beautiful. Well, today, Beauty or the Beast? Well, somebody's going to be the big beast today. I'm not quite sure who it is going to be. Dan Rafferty just picking him out, just making his way up as well is Ben Healy. I believe Ryan Mullen was in the pit area. I'm still not sure whether Ryan Mullen is out yet. This is Morgado of Portugal. I love the way that they just dissembled the word Portugal right from a heli shot, to be fair, just in case you're wondering. And our breakaway is now just starting to fracture ever so slightly. Check out the shoulder here from Anders Fuldager. I'm just wondering who, indeed, of the trio is going to bridge over. And the answer for the time being is none of these. Fabio Christen of Switzerland is just holding fire. Likewise is Marius Meyerhofer. The gap's down to 95 seconds. And to be honest, it looks like their day is done. They've been up here for a long, long time. And now as we leave, we're heading out into the countryside. And the first test is going to be the Côte du Péage. I don't know whether that is actually going to be a toll booth. I guess we're going to wait and see. 2.2 kilometres and 5.8%. So not the most sterling climb, but possibly a little bit of a mirror of what we've already dealt with. We've got our circuit climb to go, and that's after this next climb. You'll recognise it. It's not the cobble climb, it's the other one. We've got two major climbs within the circuit. And so we're going to enjoy that. And then we're leaving town. And we'll be gone for a good old reach. So we've still got another, 30-odd before we actually get back to the cobbles that are part of our short lap. May well be that we find a little cobble section within Mont Kigali itself, and that is what is going to define us today. This is a floodplain that, there you go, overcast 27 Celsius. In fact, temperature has picked up, and so has the wind. This is beyond the 9 kilometers per hour predicted, and that suggests a breeze and possibly somebody kicking up a storm. Mauritius and Alexander Meyer.
Yeah, it's always an honor to represent my country, and I'm very happy, very proud to be here. First time in Africa for me, first time for the World Championship in Africa, so yeah, we are ready.
Could we expect seeing Victor Langelotti in a breakaway?
I don't think so, to be honest. I will try my best to just stay as long as possible with the top guys and see what's possible in the final laps.
And your prince is present here, so extra motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Extra motivation is always super nice to have the support of the Prince Albert. So yeah, I'm going to give my to represent Monaco as best as possible.
Merci à toi.
Representing Monaco, as you've heard, His Royal Highness Prince Albert is here, very much a cycling supporter. Loves his racing generally, actually. I guess you've got to, because it'll be because the Grand Prix rushing by his front door almost constantly. 40%. This is the Côte Kigali, so the rib of Kigali. We're leaving this. We also have the Mont Kigali and the Peak Kigali. How many more? There's the mountain, there's the peak, there's the rib of what? Kigali. That's where we're playing today. Well, 124 kilometres. It kind of feels a bit doable now, doesn't it? We are, would you believe, finally beyond the halfway mark of today's race. A mighty distance that was, quite frankly, just a little bit frightening at the beginning of the day, but now seems kind of quantifiable. It's not that they've ridden easy, and our breakaway, which is starting to break down. This is Benno Wissing. It looked like he was struggling a little bit last lap and has done so again on this climb. He's done an awful lot of climbing, and we remind you there's plenty, over 5,300 meters of it indeed. I've got to tell you, this is 5,393 altitude meters in total by the end of today. That's 1,100 more than last year, Zurich in 2024, 2,500 more than the World Championships in 2023, 1,200 more than in 2022, 3,100 more than in 2021. I'll stop this now. But just to say, the Qatari desert version of the World Championships, we have 5,000 more meters than we had in Qatar. All right, I know the desert's flat, but, you know, corner. evacuating their tummies. That's the best way I can describe polite company. Because of heat exhaustion. It was horrible to witness. In fact, temperatures. We were nudging up sort of late 30s, hoving towards the 40s. It was too much. Thankfully, the weather here has been almost perfect. 27 Celsius, although heavy with humidity. And as you can see, the clouds are screaming and wrestling with themselves in an attempt to form a thunderstorm. We've escaped that fate so far, but it does feel like pretty stormy. And there is storms in the area. This climb and the lick, if you like, into the countryside all of a sudden.